Steve is an expert in the Maury Island Incident. He's a business and entertainment lawyer, a screenwriter, and producer. I was lucky enough to see one of his films last night at the El Cortez, a wonderful establishment. He's an expert on the Maury Island UFO encounter, history's first Men in Black case. He's the co-founder of the Men in Black Birthday Bash, the MIBBB, I gotta be careful I say that fast, and writer of the Maury Island Incident film. Y'all give it up for Steve Edminston. Steve.
Well, thank you, Tim. Let's give it up for Tim, our host tonight. I don't know why he decided to come out and host this, but we're so happy that he did.
Free beer.
Free beer is always a good reason. He's going to queue up. I get to get my opening, my opening presentation, the opening argument of Washington versus Roswell. I'm going to talk about one specific incident you probably have never heard of, the Maury Island Incident. Anybody here have heard of the Maury Island Incident? We have a few. We've got a few. Okay. So here we go. I've got 4 minutes and I got to be fast. Usually takes me an hour to tell this story. But if you don't know the story, it won't be as much fun. So here we go. June 21, 1947, day one of the Maury Island Incident. Next. A man named Harold Dahl, who lived in Tacoma, he went down to the docks that day. He picked up 2 day workers. We don't know who they are. They disappeared in history. Because he went down there, not yet. Because he went down the docks and he took his son Charles, he took the family dog Sparky, and they went out in Puget Sound. They ended up, just off Maury Island. Go ahead. And off Maury Island, on their boat, the North Queen, they encountered 6 flying discs shaped like donuts. One of them seemed to be failing. Ultimately, it exploded over the boat, according to the story. It released a slag, like a metallic slag, melted molten material. That material fell onto the North Queen boat. It damaged the boat. It actually burned Charles on his arm, Harold's son. It actually killed Sparky the dog. That is the correct answer. They were so frightened that day, according to the story, they ran this large working boat aground on Maury Island to escape. Please move ahead. That brings us to day 2 of the Maury Island Incident, June 22nd, 1947. Yes. That morning, a man knocked on Harold Dahl's door, 6:30 in the morning. What do you think he was dressed like? Oh yeah, classic Men in Black. Black suit, white shirt, tie, fedora, shoes. Arrived in a black 1947 Buick, and what he did that day at the diner is he told Harold everything. Well, they went to a diner together for breakfast. Then the Men in Black proceeded to tell Harold everything that had happened the day before in the water, just like I just told you. And then he did what Men in Black always do. He issued a warning to Harold. And he said, if you talk to anybody, bad things will happen to you, bad things will happen to your family. Next. This was described in the 1952 book by Ken Arnold this way, The Threat. This man told Harold that if he loved his family and didn't want anything to happen to their general welfare, he would not discuss the experience with anyone. That brings us to 2 days later, June 24th, same summer, 1947, and the famous Mount Rainier sighting, and we'll hear a lot about that tonight. Next. And if you're not keeping track, just 2 weeks later, the Summer of the Saucers, 1947. Those sightings kick off an entire summer of flying saucer sightings around the country. Thousands of them reported. One of them was this one. Just 2 weeks later, a little alleged crash of a UFO in a place called Roswell, New Mexico. We'll talk about that a lot tonight. But here's where the story gets weird. It gets weird because the Army, the Air Force, the newly formed CIA and the FBI began to investigate these sightings. And they all met in Tacoma, Washington to interview Harold Dahl. And in the interview, Harold Dahl told them everything that I told you, and he actually ended up giving these guys some slag, samples of the material that fell from the UFO. And they took that slag, the investigators from the Army who had been flying up in a B-25 bomber, I'm not joking, they picked up the slag, they got back on their B-25, and they went back to California, except they didn't make it the whole way. That plane carrying alien slag spontaneously caught fire. Oh my God. The pilots were able to get 2 passengers into parachutes, and they lived, they survived the crash, but unfortunately it was too long, and the pilots died in the crash. How do you not know this story? I'll tell you how you don't know the story. It's because if you go on Wikipedia tonight, you will find something somewhere that says Harold Dahl made it all up. Well, if he made it all up, why are we here talking about it? Right? Here's the reason. Next slide. Because we have the FBI's investigation records. The FBI investigated the plane crash, the plane that had alien slag from a UFO, right? And in that investigation, we found out the FBI concluded it was not a hoax. Harold never confessed to a hoax. That the confession was fabricated. That Dahl made up the idea of confessing so he could be known as a liar as opposed to a crazy person that saw a UFO. That investigation goes all the way up to J. Edgar Hoover. Super interesting. And we have a hero, Agent Jack Wilcox, who wrote all the documents that we have, which is why we know the story. Next. The most important document that we think in UFO history that we have is this one, and it's the document where Jack Wilcox tells J. Edgar Hoover that Dahl did not admit to a hoax. Go ahead, we'll go to the next one. We're finishing up. So, here's what happened. The FBI was happy to get rid of the case. They sealed everything about Maury Island and its investigation for 50 years as top secret. Dahl's fabricated hoax was unchallenged. That's why we all think it's a hoax. That's why if we go to Wikipedia tonight, we'll still see it. So the Maury Island incident was wrongfully forgotten. Yes. And we're here to change that tonight.
Thank you, Steve. Steve Edminston, everybody. Let's hear for him. Maury Island expert. Okay, folks, the government loves to put things down, right? Say things are fake. The government said, Maury Island Incident, nah, that didn't happen. Sparky, he had it coming. That's literally what the government said. What are we to make of the government's proclivity for telling us not? None of this happened.
Oh my God, what is that?
I don't know, but it's incredible.